Good morning! Claire here in the Pacific Northwest Puget Sound area Grow Zone 8B, and it is a rainy Sunday morning again. So I'm going to be getting, drowned while I'm walking around showing you all these beautiful things. But the roses, you guys, I'm going to show you the garden, of course, and I'm going to show you all the things we accomplished, and I'm going to just shut up and do it because I got a lot to show. All right, you guys, I feel like I never give you a front garden tour with everything in view shot together and how it is all kind of coordinating, but here is the foxgloves and the alliums. And as you can see, that foxglove has gotten even taller than the giant allium behind it. And then these alliums are doing so fantastic. These roses here are such a beautiful reddish pink color, and it gets pinker, it gets redder as it opens up more because they start out very, very hot pink. And then here we have the entryway, which is a mess right now. I've got some more dirt. I need to paint this porch. But we have the red roses here, and they are just so lovely and full. This one is spent. I need to cut it. It's so hard for me to cut these. Oh, there it goes. Yep. And then look at this. Isn't she lovely and so big? Now I can finally show you guys the white roses. And they're kind of a creamy color with this little touch of blush and pink on the ends. But aren't they just so fantastic? I'm going to show you this one in the back. Look at that. Oh, I have no words for her. She's so pretty. And I have another one of the white bushes right here. She's always very slow to catch up with her sisters. And then here is my favorite one. Just going so well. Blooms everywhere. I've got to get out here and cut some that are done for so that others can come alive. We've got plenty of buds popping up right here. And then this area right here does not look super impressive yet, but I planted so many seedlings that I had under my grow lights this week, and I have a really good feeling because they seemed very strong and very healthy. So I'm hoping that this will come alive and just be a fountain of floral color very soon. Do you remember what this looked like when I first set it up? And it was such a long, laborious waiting for things to sprout. There was no green, or there was, but they were like teeny tiny little sprouts for a long time. But look at this. We've got our strawberries here in the front, and we're about to have some fruit, and you can see all the way down the back. There are flowers that are thriving and doing so well. I planted some more things in here this week, and I'll show you that later. But let me just take you down the rows very quickly. Got our Bells of Ireland. I put some celosia here. I've got the zinnia, cosmos. I'm going to show this to you guys. Check out these mushrooms. They have been popping up everywhere. And this is a belt of mushrooms that I had to pull up from this area earlier this week. And I'm like, what in the Smurf village is happening in my garden? I feel like Gargamel destroying all these by pulling them up, but they're, kind of crowding out my flowers. But I'm curious because I don't know a lot about mushrooms. I actually don't eat mushrooms. But are these edible? If you are a mycology enthusiast and you can recognize mushrooms, please let me know because I might attempt to eat some mushrooms if they come from my own garden. So let me know about that. Back to the garden tour. Here's some yarrow, some more snapdragons, our stock, our dahlias here that are doing really well, the ones from seed. And then I just pulled up these mushrooms, this big giant clumps of mushrooms from this area. They were about to make my dahlia reach for the sky. It was like growing up right underneath it. But check out the sunflowers. I did not bring my tape measure out today so I could start that process. So I'll have to do that later. But they are doing so well and getting so strong, and they're sturdy little trunks. Here's Connor's little garden. I'll show you that at a bird's eye view. His potatoes are doing fantastic. And then our three sisters' garden bed and corn in here coming up, doing even better than I saw it yesterday. Check this out. This was only to here about a couple of days ago, and now it's put off a couple of true leaves here. I have to show you these deep purple foxgloves that are sprouting up here in my forgotten corner. I might cut these and bring them inside for an arrangement since I have just so many volunteers in here. Let me bring you down this row. So here is some more sunflowers. These were a different, kind of shorter variety. They don't seem to be taking off quite as well, so I actually might plant some new seeds in here in these kind of, puny looking spots to see if I can get kind of maybe another planting of them, and maybe they'll do better now that it's warmed up and the soil's warmer than it was when I first put them in. But even over here, these are doing really well. This is another mixed variety of who knows what they'll be. It'll be a surprise for you and for me what colors these are going to be. There'll be anywhere from white to kind of pinky to yellow to red. They could be anything. So that's so exciting. My potatoes are doing really well also. Here is our PTP, and it is flowering some of our things, so we should have some peas, some snacks soon. This is the purple pea, I believe, that I planted, and I also planted quite a few that have some of the white flowers on it. You're doing so well, and as you can see, I will show you this later, but I've cleaned up this area. Here to report on this trellis that I had planted with a bunch of things like cucumbers and watermelons and cantaloupes, and they got dug up, and I found the culprit. I'll show it to you. But I've seen the squirrels, but not only that, I am also contending with moles. And so I found that out because I found a dead one in my yard, probably thanks to my cat. Bless his poor little heart. They are so ugly cute. He looked so velvety, and his little hands were just so weird and precious at the same time. And I hate that he had to meet his demise, but I also don't want him to eat my plants. But so hopefully that'll they don't seem to be messing with what's already coming up. But I know one thing. I was joking with a friend. Even though I have planted some things here and they haven't worked out, all my volunteer sunflowers and squash, pumpkins, they are doing very well. So if nothing happens this year, I'm gonna have pumpkins and sunflowers. And then I have our new tomato forest that I will introduce to you later. So before I get to more gardening goodness, I've got to show you something kind of cool that happened this week. So we do see seals pretty frequently out here, but there were a couple of scuba divers out there, and these seals were so intrigued. Like every time I'd look over, there'd be a few more. It's like they came up to see, hey, you guys got some snacks. Like at one point there was like 8 to 10 of them just kind of hanging around here. But when they realized there was no snacks, they scattered. Last week I threatened to cut back this maple tree because it had just gotten so big and bushy and was blocking the rose bushes and the view of the house. And I really wanted to take care of that. So, this was the first day that I wore shorts for this summer. So try not to blind yourself on my pasty legs. Truth be told, I don't know that they're going to be much tanner this summer either. God just made me that way. So here we are. But I feel so much better now that I've done this. Once a mama decides she's going to do something, nothing's going to stop her, even if she's in her flip flops and having to climb a tree with some clippers. She's going to get the job done to her satisfaction. I'm getting annoyed that my thumb keeps showing up in all my frames. I've got to get better at that. But what do you guys think? It feels a lot more open and a lot more sunshine's coming in. I'm loving the way it looks now. The next chain reaction of activity had to do with our PTP. You know how yard ADD goes. You go outside to plant tomatoes and you get super sidetracked when you look at your peas and you see just how overgrown everything is over here. And I was annoyed because my peas were starting to latch onto some of this grass growing up high. So I had to get out the weed eater and take care of business. But then it made me remember that, it's the end of May and we had participated in No Mow May and No Mow May, March, April, February, January, and it looked like it. So I got out the mower and decided that needed some work as well. I wanted to surprise my husband because, usually he would be the one who would do the mowing, but he works full time and he also goes to school full time. And so he's a busy, busy guy. And I thought if I could take something off his plate, and it would be a huge surprise because, funnily enough, I feel like, lawn guys marry girls who like wild, unkempt spaces and cottage gardens. And they're always button heads about when to mow and how often and wildlife and all that stuff. So anyway, I thought he would be very, very pleased that he would be able to walk out to a very clean and beautiful-ish lawn space. Once I got undistracted by doing lawn care, I finally got to work doing what I had set out to do, which was to plant a lot of the seedlings that I had been growing under the grow lights. And they had just kind of reached the point where they needed to go. They've had gotten to where they were touching the lights. They looked really strong and robust. So it was time to give them a final home. So I kind of strategically put them out here in this front bed. And then the one in front of the picket fence, I put some out there and a few things in the row garden as well. So I'll show you some of that later. But I'm glad to just finally have quite a bit of things out here. So it's their job to survive. I'm going to do my best for them, but that's on them. I came out here in the row garden because I wanted to plant some more celosia because my other celosia had died. And I wanted to put out some milkweed and some salvia varieties. But I'll show you what I think has been happening to some of my flowers that have not quite made it. Oh, get up. No wonder some of my stuff is dying. And now we know. So this was my biggest project of the week, was trying to put some stakes in the ground because I had bought about 5 different varieties of tomatoes because my tomatoes are small and puny. And 2 of them had died. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to have tomatoes this year. I'm going to get some greenhouse tomatoes. So we went back to that Portland nursery and they were selling their pretty robust looking tomato plants for about $3. So I got 2 different varieties of cherry tomatoes. I got 1 variety of Roma tomatoes, and then I got a variety of just some kind of slicing tomatoes. Also, just so y'all are aware, when I put those eggs and mixed them in with the ground to create sort of a fertilizer, in my brain I was thinking, cool, it won't smell nasty because it's gonna break down, which it did, and it doesn't smell gross above the ground, but below the ground it smells like rotten eggs. So when I was digging up for these tomatoes, it was pretty stanky. I got to tell y'all a story about these stakes that I'm hammering in here. These are branches from that maple tree, the branches that I had cut down. And the reason why I went with this is because I did go to the store to get some stakes for my tomatoes, but Katana ended up having an epic fit. So we left because it was, that's what you do when you have a toddler. And when we got home, I was a little dejected, but when you have desperation, that is the mother of invention. So I decided to make do and mend and use these maple branches. And at first, I was doing something really laborious. I was kind of trying to whittle the ends of the sticks and to make them easier to hammer in, and then they weren't exactly super straight. So I remembered I had that auger that I had used to plant like the bulbs and some other things, and I got that out and dug some deep holes, and I created this really cute little tomato forest. And honestly, I'm loving the twisty curvy branches, and I think it looks very charming and very cottagey. Thanks so much for sticking around to see what we've gotten up to this week. I hope you guys have had an equally productive week. I hope you guys have had amazing weather, and if not, there's always next week. So I'll see you next Sunday. Y'all have a great day.